She missed her flight. What this billionaire revealed changed everything for her forever. Emily Parker had been looking forward to this day for months. She had worked tirelessly, juggling 2 jobs while raising her brilliant 8-year-old daughter, Lily. The job interview in Chicago could change everything. It could mean financial stability, a brighter future, finally giving Lily possibilities beyond their small, cluttered apartment. But now, as she stood in the overstimulating chaos of the airport, frantically checking her watch, her heart sank. Hushed anxiety churned in her stomach as she eyed the looming departure signs, realizing she might miss her flight. People hustled around her, dragging oversized bags, faces lined with impatience. They all seemed to know where they were going. Emily felt lost, trapped beneath the weight of her responsibilities. Every heartbeat echoed the dreams she held for Lily. Tears stung her eyes, and she whispered a silent prayer. Finding a momentary refuge in a row of empty seats, she sat next to an elderly man with a well-worn cap adorned with military patches. He noticed her distress and smiled gently. "Missed the flight?" Emily chuckled softly, her voice thick with worry. "I'm afraid I might." He introduced himself as Hank. As they spoke, he regaled her with tales of his days in the service, stories of courage and sacrifice that held her captive. His gruff voice danced through memories of camaraderie, hardship, and hope. It reminded her that resilience could blossom even amidst struggle. "I don't have much left," Hank said, his eyes clouded over. "These medical bills, they eat away at what little savings I have." Emily felt a wave of sorrow wash over her, connecting their struggles. Here she was, wishing for financial stability, and Hank was fighting to keep his head above water. The weight of her choice pressed down on her, revealing the innate desire to help others when she had so little herself. Before she could dig deeper into her pockets, a voice broke through their conversation. "Are you two okay?" It was Alex Turner, the billionaire. He sat just a few seats away, eavesdropping without shame. Intrigued, he leaned closer, sharing his own unexpected vulnerability. "I've chased success, chasing after wealth, only to realize I've sacrificed my family in the process." There was something haunting yet grounding about Alex. His raw admission wrapped around Emily's heart, elevating Hank's struggles and her own dilemmas. Could she chase her dream and still lend a hand to a fellow human in distress? The air pulsed with unspoken choices. As she faced this moral fork, the intensity built to an almost unbearable pitch. With trembling hands, Emily fought back tears. "Maybe we could." Before she could finish, a voice came across the intercom, announcing the delayed flight to Chicago. Time froze. The promise of opportunity, the weight of freedom, hung by a thread. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Emily felt a new determination swelling within her. Would she board the flight that could change everything, or would she make a sacrifice for someone who needed her? Struggling between ambition and empathy, she stood at the crossroads of success and community, uncertain of which path to choose. As doubt lingered, the air thick with anticipation, she braced herself for the decision ahead. Would her instincts be her guide, or would she forge a new legacy for herself and others? The answer loomed heavy in the air, waiting to unfold. Emily took a deep breath, her heart racing as she wrestled with her emotions. In that moment, everything felt magnified. Hank's weary face seemed to reflect her own uncertainty, and Alex's eyes sparkled with the weight of his own revelations. She felt the pull of her responsibilities tugging her in one direction while the whisper of possibility urged her to the other. "Maybe we could," she repeated, the statement hanging in the air like a question mark. She glanced towards Hank. "Maybe I could help you, Hank." With "Stop right there." Alex interrupted gently, yet firmly. You don't have to feel obligated to help just because you see someone in need. We're all struggling in different ways. Emily's chest tightened. Was it obligation or choice that propelled her? She could hear Lily's laughter echoing in her mind, could picture the dreams she nurtured for her daughter. But here was a man who had fought for his life and was now facing despair. She thought of medical bills stacking against a wall, suffocating dreams like weeds strangling a flower. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture, Hank said softly. Sometimes, just showing someone they're not alone is enough. Emily's heart raced again. She didn't have much, but she had hope, a willingness to lift her head above water alongside others. What if I helped you negotiate those bills? She suggested boldly. Maybe we can talk to your doctors, see if they can adjust the payment plan. And I can share your story, see if we can raise some funds. Hank's eyes widened in disbelief. You would do that for me? It's not charity, Emily replied, her voice steadier now. It's community. We all deserve to be heard. Across the seating area, Alex leaned back, arms crossed. A small smile crept across his face. Now there's a businesswoman in the making, he remarked, admiration lacing his tone. Suddenly, the intercom blared again, bringing both of their attention back to reality. Flight 427 to Chicago is now boarding. Emily's heart dropped. Could she walk away from this moment? She glanced at her watch, then back at the two men beside her. If she boarded, the door might slam shut on this chance to connect with people who were struggling just like her. Alex's voice cut through her thoughts. You've already committed to helping someone. Wouldn't that be the legacy you want to create? Look inside and ask yourself what this moment truly means. Looking from Alex to Hank, the weight bore down on her again, but now it felt less suffocating and more transformative. I can always get another interview, she whispered to herself. She nodded slowly, a decision surging through her. I'm staying. I need to help you, Hank. A wave of relief washed over the elderly man, tears glistening in his eyes. You don't know how much this means to me. As they spoke in hushed tones about medical costs and strategies, Emily became acutely aware of a shift within her. It was almost as if she could feel her heart opening, as if in this act of giving, she was reclaiming a part of herself. But as laughter broke outside the airport, mingling with the sound of boarding gates, Emily's newfound confidence was suddenly quashed by another worry. What would happen to Lily? Time was slipping through her fingers like sand. Lily, she murmured, that thought spiraling in her mind. Would she ever forgive her for choosing this over a chance at a new life? With her heart racing and uncertainty creeping back, she looked at Alex and Hank, realizing they had become her family in that instant. Can this decision truly lead to something bigger? She wondered aloud, her voice barely a whisper, and that when she felt it, a spark of hope igniting within her, overshadowing her doubts. As the minutes began to drift, she understood that the real journey was just beginning. Can you help me find a way to tell Lily about this? She asked both men. Together, they plotted a plan, a new path unfolding before them, but as the boarding call echoed again, a sense of urgency loomed. Would this choice relegate her dreams to dust, or could it forge a powerful new narrative for her life? The air shifted, thick with possibilities. Now, the question remained, what would Emily say to her daughter when the moment came? Emily sat on the edge of her seat, her heart racing and her thoughts pulsing like a steady drum in her ears. She could feel the enormity of her choice as she leaned closer to Hank and Alex. The world outside the airport buzzed with life, but for her, time felt as if it had paused, holding its breath with held anticipation. So what's the first step? She asked, her voice quavering with determination. We need to get Hank's story out there. She turned to Hank, his face suddenly illuminated with hope. People want to help when they understand. Let us start with the hospital. They may have resources we can tap into. Hank nodded slowly, but uncertainty still clouded his eyes. What if they dismiss us? I'm just a number to them, a bill. No. Emily insisted, her passion surging. "You're so much more. We'll show them that you're a person, not just a patient. You fought through hell, now it's time for your voice to be heard." Alex leaned in, catching the spark in Emily's spirit. "You're right. If we make his story relatable, if we show people the man behind the illness, then they won't just see a bill. They LLC Hank, a veteran with a family and dreams that need breathing space." Hank's throat tightened as he listened to their encouragement. No one had offered him any support like this before. It brought tears to his eyes as he said softly, I don't know how to thank you." Emily waved her hand dismissively. "No need for thanks. We're in this together. You get through this, Hank. We all do." Her words hung in the air, comforting but loaded with pressure. Fears of Lily's reaction gnawed at her insides. Would her daughter understand why she was sacrificing her chance at a better life? Would Liam ever be there to help shoulder the weight of these decisions? "Hey, are you okay?" Alex asked, concern softening his expression as he clocked her distant gaze. Emily tore herself from her contagious whirlwind of thoughts. "I'm just thinking about Lily. I wish she could be here, but I can't. I have to keep going." Her voice trailed off, weighed down by the turmoil of conflicting emotions. "We can make sure she's proud of you, Alex said, nudging her shoulder gently. "If you can do this, it will show Lily the strength in helping others. It might not be an easy conversation when you tell her, but explaining your journey will mean the world to her." Feeling a flicker of reassurance, Emily squared her shoulders and focused on Hank. "Let's put together an outline of your story, we can make it compelling. Maybe we can feature your journey in a local community newsletter or a blog. Anything to get people talking." Hank smiled for the first time. "That sounds doable." Just as enthusiasm built between them, a commotion erupted near the boarding gate. A man in a tailored suit, an obvious businessman, raised his voice as he paced. "I can't believe this delay. Do they not understand the impact on our schedules?" he exclaimed, creating a ripple of tension amongst the waiting crowd. Emily stole a glance. The man's frustration looked strangely familiar, echoing the chaos she carried in her own heart. But he shifted his gaze past the boarding area and locked eyes with her. In that brief moment, something shifted. What if Emily's mind raced? What if he is a potential ally? Maybe he has resources or connections we could tap into. "Go," Alex urged, gently nudging her forward. "This could be your chance." With each step towards the suited stranger, Emily felt the rush of adrenaline intertwined with anxiety. Can one meeting change everything? Did she have the guts to reach out? As she took a deep breath, an unexpected wave of courage washed over her. She could feel her heart pounding, echoing in her ears as she walked closer. Just when she was about to speak, the stranger turned and flashed a warm smile that caught Emily off guard. What was underneath his stern exterior? Perhaps the surprising truth awaited her, waiting to unfold. But before she could say anything, her phone buzzed, and the screen lit up with Lily's name. The sharp reality of motherhood jolted her back. Would fate push her toward something she hadn't seen coming? In that moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath, allowing Emily to choose step into that new world or dive back into the familiar. What door would she choose to open next? Emily hesitated, her thumb hovering over Lily's name on the screen. The gentle ping of her phone felt like a reminder of everything she had put on hold. But before she could gather her thoughts, the businessman's smile widened, almost as if he sensed her inner turmoil. "Excuse me," the stranger said, his voice cutting through the noise around them. "Are you all right? You look like you're about to jump out of your skin." That one sentence sparked something in Emily. She set her phone down, facing him fully. I am. Actually, I'm trying to make a difference here," she said, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. "Making a difference, huh?" He raised an eyebrow as he studied her. "You don't seem like someone who would back down from a challenge." She took a breath, every ounce of her fear turning into a fierce determination. I'm helping a friend. He is a veteran who needs support for medical bills. She gestured towards Hank, who stood nearby with Alex, both listening intently. We're working to get his story out there so that people can help. The businessman's expression shifted, a flicker of interest dawning in his eyes. That's admirable, he said, leaning closer. People tell stories every day, but the ones that matter, those come from the heart. What is his story? For an instant, Emily felt her pulse quicken. Sharing Hank's story with a stranger felt both vulnerable and liberating. Hank fought for our country. He is a father and a husband, and right now, he needs help to navigate this medical maze. It's more than just bills, it's about restoring hope and showing him he matters. Hank, the businessman called, now looking directly at him. What challenges are you facing? Hank stepped forward, his voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions. I'm just trying to figure out how to keep my head above water while taking care of my family. With healthcare costs. The man prompted. Yes. I feel lost. Sometimes it's easy to feel like nobody cares, Hank admitted, vulnerability etched in his features. The businessman's gaze softened. Listen, you're not alone in this. People like you need to be heard. Emily's heart raced. This was it. The moment she needed. Would you be willing to share Hank's story? Maybe through your platform? You might have the connections that could make a difference. A platform? The businessman considered her request as a thoughtful frown crossed his face. I do write for a significant publication, but I'm curious what's in it for you. That's not the point, Alex interjected. This isn't about glory for us, but about giving a voice to those who have been silenced by the system. The man studied their trio, his expression shifting. And what has the system done to you? Emily felt a tightness in her chest. She thought about Lily and how she'd want her mother to be brave. It's made us feel insignificant, like our struggles don't matter. But together, we can fight it, make a change, even if it starts small. He paused, and for a moment, doubt flashed across his expression. I need to think about this. Your passion is compelling. Please, Hank urged, desperation breaking through his stoic demeanor. My family needs help now. The businessman sighed, conflicted. Okay. Let me gather some information. I can't promise anything, but I'll hear your story. As Emily felt a glimmer of hope, her phone buzzed again, pulling her attention momentarily. She glanced at Lily's message. Mom, where are you? I miss you. A pang of guilt clawed at Emily's heart. I have to go, she said to the man, urgency surging within her. He needs to be my priority right now. Wait. The businessman called out, grabbing her arm. Stay in touch. I might have some ideas for how to reach out to a wider audience. She nodded, hope fluttering in her chest. As they exchanged contact information, she didn't notice the clouds gathering outside the airport, brewing a storm. Walking back toward Hank and Alex, a weight lifted off her shoulders. He agreed to listen. She exclaimed, but before they could celebrate, an announcement blared overhead, attention, passengers. All flights have been delayed due to severe weather conditions. Emily's heart sank. All her plans hinged not only on Hank's story but also on her ability to return home to Lily. How long would this storm keep them waiting? As uncertainty settled in, a thought loomed. Was someone watching over her journey, or just chaos shrouding her path ahead? Emily stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the announcement crashing over her like a wave. Passengers around her began to murmur, checking their phones, eyes widening in alarm. Her heart raced, each beat echoing the growing fear within her. Would she make it back to Lily? Emily. Hank's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. He must have sensed her distress. It's okay. We'll figure it out. His reassurance brought a flicker of comfort. I need to be with her, Hank. Lily's waiting for me. Alex, quick to interject, placed a hand on her shoulder. We all need you right now. Hank needs support, and this moment can lead to something bigger. That man may really help us. I don't have time for bigger right now. The words burst out of Emily, raw and unfiltered. She took a breath, reminded of the weight she carried. The worry for her daughter nagged at her like a constant itch. Listen, Hank said softly, stepping closer. I know it's frustrating, but this is a chance for us to make a splash. If this businessman can amplify our story, it could be the turning point we all need. A yearning flickered in Emily's chest. Helping Hank felt important. But it was so hard to balance her life right now, to keep everything from slipping through her fingers. Suddenly, the businessman reappeared, his eyes scanning the crowd. Hey, I promised I'd reach out, and I intend to keep my word. He motioned for them to follow him to a quieter corner, away from the chaos. As they moved, Emily couldn't help but wonder what had compelled him to engage with them. What hidden motivation lay behind the polished exterior of this stranger? Once in a more secluded spot, he pulled out a notebook, jotting down notes as he spoke. I want to know more about Hank's story. The more personal details you can share, the more powerful it'll be when I present it. Emily watched Hank's face as he shared, his voice calming yet passionate. I don't just want to be another statistic. I want people to feel how it is being a veteran and feeling lost in the system. The businessman nodded, his pen capturing every word. Exactly. Stories that touch the heart tend to resonate wider. He glanced at Emily, and something about his gaze felt intense, almost probing. But I also want to know about you. What drives you to do this? Emily hesitated, feeling a familiar tension in the air. My daughter. The admission slipped out before she could stop it. I want her to know that fighting for what's right matters, that every voice counts. I can appreciate that, he replied, pausing as if weighing his next words. But it feels like more than just that. You're courageous to stand up, especially when it feels like the whole world is against you. That kind of bravery can inspire so many others. The sincerity in his tone struck a chord. She stole a glance at Hank, who was nodding in agreement. Alex, too, seemed invested in every word shared. Thank you, Emily said slowly, warmth simmering against her worried heart. I just hope I can reach people and make them understand. Before she could finish, the lights flickered, and a muted echo of thunder rumbled in the distance. The storm was rolling in fast, just like the dread that was closing in on her hopes. Maybe it's the calm before a breakthrough, the businessman suggested lightly, trying to inject some hope into the moment. Sometimes when things seem bleak, that's when the real change happens. Emily nodded, internalizing his words, but still felt the weight of worry dragging her down. Just then, an announcement blared overhead once again. Attention, passengers. All travelers are advised to check for updates on their flights. We anticipate major disruptions. Don't let this break you, Alex encouraged, sensing her anxiety. You're stronger than this storm. Emily felt a surge of defiance. You're right. I can't let anything weather or otherwise stop me from getting Hank's story out there. As they turned back to the businessmen, their resolve solidified. The rain began to patter against the windows, a prelude to something monumental. Just then, the businessman looked out toward the storm cloaking the sky. What if I told you this storm could serve as the backdrop for a story that can't be ignored? His eyes gleamed, and Emily felt a shiver run down her spine. Are you saying what I think you are? She asked, her curiosity piqued. The man smiled, revealing a plan that could change everything. What if we turn this delay into an opportunity? And just like that, the winds outside howled as though ready to unleash more than just rain. Would they be able to channel the chaos into a catalyst for change? Let us turn this storm into a movement, the businessman said, his voice steady amid the growing chaos. Emily could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, igniting a fire inside her that she hadn't felt in a long time. Right now, we have this unique moment, he continued, pacing slightly as he spoke. We need to capture it. You have the passion, Hank has the story, and Alex, well, he can capture all of it on camera. Emily glanced at Hank, whose eyes sparkled with determination. They both understood what was at stake. This wasn't just about a flight delay anymore. This was about telling a story that could resonate beyond the confines of an airport terminal. Are you ready to share your truth? The businessman asked Hank, as if sensing the power of their shared mission. More than ever, Hank replied, a fierce resolve building in his posture. He took a deep breath, shifting slightly as he prepared for the onslaught of emotions he was about to unleash. This isn't just my story. It's for every veteran who feels unheard and lost in the system. I want people to see the struggles we face daily in the background. Emily felt the buzz of the crowd dimmed slightly as they leaned in to absorb Hank's words. The murmurs began to fade. She could sense that they were starting to listen. Hold on, Alex interjected, the wheels turning in his mind. If we're going to do this, we need to be strategic. We should use the storm as part of our message. You know, the idea of chaos leading to new beginnings. Emily's pulse quickened. This was the kind of action she had been craving. They could rally not just for Hank but for so many others like him who felt trapped by circumstances beyond their control. Let us do it, she said, the words tumbling out before she could second-guess herself. We can stream this. Let Hank's story reach beyond the confined space of this airport. If the storm can bring us chaos, let us harness it to bring clarity. With that, the businessman clapped his hands together, his smile a mix of approval and excitement. Perfect. All right, let us set the stage. Emily, can you introduce the importance of Hank's story, and then I'll have Hank share from his heart. Emily nodded, feeling a swell of hope rise. She glanced outside, the rain pouring down in thick sheets, the world beyond blurred and merging into a canvas of gray. But in that moment, it felt like the storm could be the backdrop to something beautiful. It was their story against the chaos of a world that often overlooked them. As they set up the makeshift stage in the corner of the waiting area, Emily felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. With every step she took, she could feel her worries about Lily ebbing just a bit. The world may have tried to drown them in noise and distractions, but here, in the heart of it, they were about to spark a flame of awareness. Okay, on my count, Alex said, adjusting the camera as he got ready to roll. Emily took a deep breath, steeling her nerves. She could do this. 1, 2, 3. Hey everyone, we're here in the middle of a storm, both outside and within the lives of many veterans, Emily began, her heart racing but her voice steady. She felt the energy shift as she spoke, could see attention peeking in the glances from onlookers. Today, we're sharing a story that matters. Hank is here to talk about what it means to fight, not just on the battlefield, but in life after life in service. Hank stepped forward, the rush of his own emotions evident. For too long, I've felt like my experiences have been lost in the shuffle, but together, we can make sure they're heard. As he began to share, Emily's heart soared, the storm outside only amplifying the storm of feelings and narratives being laid bare before an audience that had transformed from indifferent strangers to avid listeners. But just when the momentum was building, the lights pulsed again, and another thunderclap shook the building, sending a murmur of concern through the crowd. Is it just me, or does it feel like the storm is trying to stop us? Emily said, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. No, it's challenging us, the businessman replied. And we can't back down now. We're just getting started. The rain lashed harder against the windows, yet within that chaos, they had created a moment of unity. But with the intensity of the storm outside reflecting their narrative's urgency, Emily couldn't help but wonder what if sharing Hank's story uncovers something even deeper and more explosive than they intended. Would their words resonate far beyond this moment, or could it inadvertently draw the storm in closer, unleashing challenges they couldn't see on the horizon? The energy crackled in the air as Hank took a shaky breath, ready to deliver truths that could change lives. The flickering lights cast shadows over the crowd, who had gathered closer, curious eyes fixated on him. Outside, the storm raged on, its fury a fitting backdrop to the raw emotions unfolding inside. "Today, I'm not just speaking for myself," he began, his voice steadier now. "I'm speaking for every veteran, every soul that feels forgotten. When I got home, I expected to find support. Instead, it felt like I was fighting a new war." Emily's heart thumped in her chest. She watched as the crowd leaned in, hanging on Hank's every word. Here was a man who'd fought for his country and now continued the battle against silence and dismissal. "When you're out there, you're a brotherhood, a sisterhood. But when you come back, it all fades away. We're left to navigate a world that feels strange and unwelcoming." His eyes glimmered with unshed tears, but his resolve did not waver. "I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. I want to ignite a change." It was like a match was struck deep within her, illuminating the truth they all sensed. The crowd around them was no longer merely passive spectators, they were becoming part of something important. Phones were raised, captions typed, light from screens illuminating eager, but concerned faces. "Let us end the stigma. Let us ask for help. We shouldn't have to do this alone," Hank declared, the passion in his voice resonating throughout the space. The crowd erupted in murmurs, sharing in his frustration, his hope. Emily glanced over to Alex, capturing every moment as it unfolded. The lens shifted nervously with each expression and every tear, but just then, a particularly loud crash of thunder reverberated through the terminal, rattling the very walls around them and causing people to instinctively pull closer to one another. It was almost as if the storm were trying to reinforce Hank's message, a chaotic symphony harmonizing with their cause. "Don't you see?" Hank implored, eyeing the growing audience. "The world tells us to hide our weaknesses, to pretend that everything is fine. But it's in our cracks that we find strength. We can change the narrative if we just speak out." Emily could feel the weight of his words pressing on her chest. This was not just a moment for Hank, it was a rallying cry for every person who had felt marginalized or overlooked. It dawned on her that they were all grappling with their hidden storms, just like the one raging outside. Suddenly, the businessman stepped forward, his fierce determination clear. "Let us not wait for tomorrow, for the winds to change. Let us seize this moment right now. If any of you feel inspired to join this movement, take a step forward." Hesitation flickered across the faces in the crowd, but gradually, people began to shuffle forward, some stepping out into the wet terminal floor amid the chaos. Their movement spoke louder than words, a collective stand against indifference. Emily's heart raced as she realized the power of this moment. She turned to Hank, who still stood amidst a crowd that fed off his inconceivable strength. "This is just the beginning," she whispered, feeling an urge to express her support, and to be part of something bigger than herself. But before they could delve deeper into their vision, an emergency alert blared across the speakers, announcing an evacuation due to the extreme weather. Panic rippled through the crowd as people turned to one another for guidance. Emily's grip tightened on Hank's arm. "We can't stop now," she urged, her voice rising above the chaos. "We need to finish this. We can't let the storm drown our message." Hank seemed almost ready to argue, but then he nodded, determination hardening his features. "We won't back down. Let this storm be the catalyst for what's next." As the crowd surged forward, seeking safety while also longing for connection, Emily felt a fire igniting within her chest. She wasn't just fighting for Hank anymore, she was fighting for herself, for Lily, and for everyone who believed. They had no voice. But where would they go now? Would their words reach those they intended to inspire? And could their movement hold against the storm closing in? The next question lingered in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Would they find shelter from the storm, or would they risk everything in this fight? Hank glanced around, urgency washing over him like the pouring rain outside. The crowd was swelling with energy, the air thick with anticipation. Everyone was ready to make a change, but where could they go in the chaos of the storm? As the evacuation alert continued to drone through the speakers, he raised his voice. "We'll find a way. We'll regroup somewhere safe. This storm may be trying to drown us out, but we're not going to let that happen." He turned and grabbed Emily's hand, leading her through the crowd. They pushed past people who were scrambling for exits, dodging the frantic buzz of cell phones and muffled voices. Emily felt a sense of belonging, a kinship in the chaos. "I never imagined it would come to this," she said, her voice steady despite the tension around them. "I thought it would just be me sharing my story, but look at everyone. They want to be part of this." Hank nodded, his eyes sparkling with determination. "And we can't let this moment falter. We have to talk to them. But we need a plan. Somewhere safe." They approached a small cafe bar that seemed less affected by the panic, the cozy hum of conversation filling the space. The few patrons inside turned their heads as Hank and Emily entered. They projected an inviting warmth, and it offered a brief sanctuary from the storm raging outside. "Everyone, listen." Hank raised his voice over the drone of the crowd and clink of mugs. "We need to connect, to share our experiences and create a network for one another." The air hung thick, echoing with curiosity and anxiety. Several people turned their attention toward him, while others remained glued to their phones, unsure of how they fit into this burgeoning movement. Emily stepped in, emboldened by Hank's spirit. "This isn't just about veterans. It's about all of us. Whether you've lost your way or faced battles of your own, we have a chance to build something together, a support system." A woman at the back slowly rose to her feet, brushing the wet strands of hair from her face. "I've felt alone for too long," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But if you all feel the same, maybe it's time we stop pretending." Her admission sparked something. Others followed, sharing their own struggles: a father who had lost his job, a college student battling debt, and a mother trying to juggle everything alone. Emotions cascaded like the rain outside. There were tears, but also a sense of unity weaving through the voices, lifting everyone. Hope started to build within the cafe, the storm outside now almost forgotten. Emily exchanged glances with Hank, their eyes reflecting the same realization: they were building something powerful. But amid the burgeoning hope, a new thought settled in her chest. What happens when the storm passes? Will we stay connected or drift back to silence? The question echoed through her mind. They hadn't just turned the tide on that day, they needed to sustain it. That urgency flickered beneath the surface, a reminder that their fight was far from over. "Let us plan a meetup," Hank suggested, his passion igniting again. "Let us keep this going beyond today." Just then, the cafe's lights flickered, casting shadows on the walls as a loud crash echoed outside. Panic surged once more, yet those within stood resolute, eyes flaring with determination. "Will you join me?" Hank asked, looking around at them. "Will you stand together in this fight?" As faces lit up with newfound purpose, Emily's heart quickened. They weren't just surviving, they were building a revolution. Yet, uncertainty loomed. Would they be able to hold on to these connections when life returned to normal? She took a deep breath and made a decision. "Yes. We're not going back." But even as those powerful words left her lips, another loud thunderous crash echoed, shaking the very foundation of the cafe. What if the storm held more than just rain? What if their resolve was about to be tested in ways they couldn't yet imagine? As the thunder growled like a beast outside, Hank's voice cut through the moment, grounding everyone. "We stand together, no matter what happens. Don't let fear take root." He could feel the tension in the air, a mix of panic and determination, binding them all together. The flickering light seemed to mirror their collective uncertainty, but with each declaration of support, hope grew like a tree breaking through concrete. Emily moved forward, stepping into the eye of this gathering storm. "There's strength in vulnerability," she urged. "We're all here because we need each other. Let us commit to this." More people began to stand, reaching out, forming chains of energy and promise. There was the father, still grappling with his loss, looking behind him at the others, visibly shaken yet hopeful. The college student, once embarrassed by his struggles, was now nodding vigorously, his eyes bright with motivation. As they shared their stories, the sound of the storm outside seemed to lessen. Each voice, each confession was a step toward healing. It was like they were sheltering one another against the downpour. In that moment, a tough-looking man in the corner, who hadn't spoken, finally broke his silence. "I've been lost since I left the military," he said, his voice rough but sincere. "But seeing all of you, it's like I'm not alone anymore." The crowd responded with applause and shouts of encouragement, and Emily's heart swelled at the sight. Each shared story added weight to their resolve, forging an unbreakable bond among them. But then came another deafening crash, a sound that stopped everyone in their tracks. They turned toward the cafe windows, now lit up briefly by a flash of lightning illuminating a chaotic scene outside. Power lines swayed dangerously, and the world seemed to tilt precariously. "I think we need to evacuate." A man's voice broke through the moment, panic creeping back in. Hank quickly took charge again. "No, we're not going to scatter," he shouted. "We've come too far. We need to stay together, find somewhere safe." "Emily, what about that community center a few blocks down?" Emily closed her eyes for a heartbeat, then said, "Yes. It has more space and can probably fit everyone, plus we can set up a shelter there." "Okay. Everyone, listen." Hank raised his voice, trying to drown out the rush of anxiety. "We need to move fast. Follow us. Let us help each other." The crowd moved, tightening into a single mass, people linked arm in arm, ready to face whatever was outside. As they stepped out into the downpour, Emily felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The storm was still furious, but they weren't just a group of scared individuals anymore, they were a united front. They forged ahead, through the wind and rain, pushing each other forward, refusing to let the storm defeat them, but as they reached the community center, the group paused, the sight ahead made their stomachs drop. There were already others there, and the front doors were rattling violently against the force of the wind. Someone yelled from the back, "What if the storm isn't the only threat we face?" Emily's heart raced. The thought clung to her, echoing like a warning siren in her mind. What had they really walked into? As they braced themselves to move forward, uncertainty clawed at the edges of her resolve. With a trembling breath, she could only think, what now? As dark clouds loomed over them, she realized this storm was far from the only battle they had to face. Emily remained at the forefront, adrenaline pulsing through her veins. The storm still raged outside, feeding her anxiety, but now it thrummed through the crowd, igniting a spark of defiance among them. They had come together in warmth and vulnerability, and she felt an unshakable bond forming as they stood shoulder to shoulder. "I won't let this stop us," she shouted over the roar of the wind. "We're stronger together than apart. We'll find a way through this, I promise." People began nodding, their faces determined, even as rain drenched them. The storm might be wild, but fear was fading into resolve. With Hank leading them, they barreled through the chaos, finding refuge in the community center. "It's not just about surviving," Hank said as they stepped inside, the lights flickering weakly. "It's about living fully." He paused, scanning their anxious faces. He could see the uncertainty, the lingering fear, and it fueled his next words. "We've already taken the first step toward healing by being here. Let us keep pushing forward." Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman with a kind smile who appeared slightly older than Emily. "Welcome. I'm Marissa, the community coordinator here. We've been preparing for people like you. You're not alone." Hank quickly introduced their mission, and Marissa's eyes widened in understanding. "We're so glad you're here. We've been working on ways to provide support for the local community, especially for veterans. This is a perfect time for us to team up." Suddenly a loud crash echoed from outside, rattling the windows. Everyone instinctively moved closer together, but Marissa raised a reassuring hand. "We need to focus. Let us make a plan. We can create support networks and community outreach from here. Your voices can help so many. That's right. Emily chimed in, catching fire from the words of those around her. We have power in our stories. We need to reflect that in our community. The anxious tension shifted into something alive. No longer muted by justification or fear, they began discussing logistics, ways to get their ideas on paper, plans to raise awareness, and even how to collaborate with local businesses to fund their initiative. They were planning for a movement, not just a survival. As they brainstormed, Emily's mind drifted to Lily, the weight of her daughter's absence gripping her heart. She felt a lurch of guilt, but also an undeniable longing to show Lily's strength through action. She wanted to show her daughter that the world was bigger than their small apartment, that connection and compassion could reshape everything. Marissa's warm voice broke through Emily's thoughts. And with your passion, we can organize community events, highlight stories just like Hank's, bringing everyone together. Time slipped by, the community center bustling with newfound energy as they turned fear into hope, into something actionable. But outside the storm still lashed against the building, snapping branches and howling winds. Emily turned to Alex and Hank, determination glistening in her eyes. What we started today, it doesn't end here, she declared. Let us create outreach programs, mentorship, help veterans reintegrate and find support. We can give a voice to those left unheard. Hank smiled, tears glimmering in their corners. You're right. Together we can do this. Hank's vision becomes everyone's victory. This storm has ignited something in us. We want to let this end without leaving a mark. With their passions ignited, they turned their backs on the chaotic storm outside, truly feeling the power of empathy bond them. Together they pored over notes, formed outlines, and imagined scenarios, ensuring that they wouldn't just weather the storm, they'd rise and inspire others long after it passed. The storm might have darkened the day, but within the community center, under the flickering light, they cultivated hope. Emily felt free for the first time in years. The chains of worry broke as she realized they were not merely sharing stories, they were forging a future. She took a moment, scanned the room filled with promise, and whispered a heartfelt prayer for her little girl. The murmurs of support echoed loudly now, courageous voices weaving a tapestry of solidarity, and each declaration felt like a thread stitching their hearts together. As the lights dimmed, Emily smiled into the dark. This is just the beginning, and somehow, we'll find our way home. With every passing minute, she felt more ready. It was time to become the woman Lily could be proud of. And as the storm raged on outside, another kind of storm, a movement began to brew inside, one that would change the course of many lives. Those who had feared the storm transforming their world instead turned it into the launching point of their journey into something bigger. Now, hear me loud and clear, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Don't wait not even one more second, hit that bell, drop a like to feed the algorithm, and comment below, sharing your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Your support means everything, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.